Margin and padding, or CSS properties, used to create space around elements, but they serve different purposes and affect elements differently. In Webflow, you can find the margin and the padding elements under the spacing tab. Now, before we jump right into it, I want to give you a brief definition and when to use margin and when to use padding. So margin is essentially the space outside the border of an element. So in this case, I selected this div, and the margin is going to affect the external part of this element. On the other hand, padding is going to be the space inside the border of an element, between the border and the content. So you're going to use margin to create space between the element and other elements around it. And you're going to use padding in order to create a space within the element itself. Now let's take a brief look at how does this look. If we add, for example, margin on the top, you can notice that this space has been applied here above, but the internal part of this div block has remained the same. However, if we undo this and we try and apply the same value from a padding point of view, you can notice that now the element has internal space, and that is exactly the difference between the padding and the margin. You can also see that over here the padding is going to be on the inside element, while the margin is going to be on the outside. And this divider line, it's the same as this div blocks divider line. So you can visually understand how this works. So to recap, the margin is the external spacing, while padding is the internal spacing. And one thing that you want to keep in mind is if you wanted to add margin and padding values, you can do that in a few ways. The first one, as we noticed, is simply to drag and drop, and you can create this numerical addition directly. The other one is going to be clicking, and you can add a specific amount of pixels, for example 50 pixels, or I can even change this value to be percentage or ems or rems or any of these different values that we have available in Webflow. You can also add one of the presets, just 140 or 220. So this is going to be quite easy to adjust. And another element that you can leverage is the keyboard shortcut Shift Option Alt and then clicking and dragging. And as you can see, now I'm able to adjust the margin and also the padding directly from all of the sizes. Now, one note, the margin is the only property that allows also for negative margins. So this is going to allow for some specific effects and basically to take care of some situations where you're going to be able to leverage negative margins in order to achieve your layout goals. So that's something that you want to keep in mind. And on top of that, under the spacings panel, there is also this center element horizontally, which is going to require a fixed width, but is nonetheless an option that you have available for some very specific situations.